Okay, I accidentally hit the stop button. So we're starting this again. Right there is your timing marks. That big dot on the camshaft and then that small dot on the crank. If you do not get those lined up when putting this together, your engine will not run, and if it does run, it'll run terribly. Because, I'll show you when the cam comes out here, what the camshaft does, if it feels like coming out of there, sometimes they can be, sometimes they can be a little bit tricky. So you see those lobes on there? What those do is those push on these here, which are called the tappets, and those open and close the valves. And if you don't align those marks, your engine will be out of time and will probably not run at all. And look, this engine is, well, hang on, let me go get the blower housing and I'll tell you how old this engine is. So this engine was made in 2001, so it's 24 years old this year. And it goes to show that not all new things are better, because this thing's 24 years old and has a solid cast camshaft. And on the newer Briggs engines, they have plastic cams, and I'm pretty sure I don't remember, but I think I've also seen plastic crank gears as well, if I remember right. And if you do have to replace this crank gear, it only goes on one way. It's got a little key in the crank, so that you really can't goof that up if you need to take that off. And also, these tappets can go in whichever way, or this one can go in the bottom, and the bottom can go in the top, so you don't have to worry about keeping those marked. At least I never have. But you can do it. You can do what you want. Okay. Now what you have to do is you have to remove all this gasket. And it looks like it all stuck onto the engine block, and I'm betting that the cover is going to be clean. So you gotta have a razor blade to take that off. Just getting it switched around here. And if those don't come out, just leave them, because you don't want to goof them up. Now, I'm trying to think of how to do this real quickly so I don't knock as much stuff down in the engine. Because this part here is the hardest part, is cleaning off all this gasket. You want to be careful that you put as little gouges in the cylinder or the gasket surface that you can. Oh man, I don't know, this won't come off here very well. Now if you're going to use RTV, you don't have to worry as much about that, because it will fill in those gouges, but you still want to be as careful as possible. Okay, so I'm going to save you the boringness of this and bring you back once I get all that done. So to remove like this stuff here that won't come off with the razor blade, I'm going to use it's like a Scotch-Brite pad on a drill to get that off, and that works pretty good for this. If I were you, I'd recommend wearing some gloves, otherwise you might have a finger looking like that. So I got as much as I could scraped off with the gasket with the razor blade without damaging the gasket surface. So now I'm just going to come all around with this on the drill until it gets nice and shiny, and I'll bring you back after that. Okay, so I got all that gasket off of there. I did go ahead and clean off the sump. There were very little spots on there, but it wasn't bad. There is some junk down in there, but I've seen worse. Sorry for the background noise of burning out the weeds in the driveway. So that's a little bit better. The only spot I wasn't able to get around was right there because of the starter and that little pin there. So I'll get I'll clean up this sump, and then I'll clean out the inside of the engine, get all that oil out of there and all the gasket, and then I should be able to get the sump on tonight, and I'll be able to video that, of course. So the way that I've always cleaned out these engines when I'm doing the gasket kits is I always just take it out to the garden hose, spray some Dawn soap in there, get a brush and brush it all out, and that typically removes most of the oil and all the dust from the gasket. Okay, this is what the sump looks like after cleaning it with just some soapy water and a little chip brush, and now I'm going to dry it out. I'm not filming all this just because I don't want to bore you guys, and I don't want you to fall asleep 10 minutes in the video, so that's just why I'm not filming this whole process, because it's kind of boring. So I got this sump cover most of the way dried out. It don't have to be absolutely perfect. Just do the best you can. If you're doing this, I'm doing the best I can. You just want to, in these little corners here, it is kind of hard to get that sludge and stuff out of there. I don't know why there's so many of these lines and stuff in here. I don't know, but just try to get as much gunk and junk out of there as you can. So I think I want to take out this crankshaft so that way I can clean under there. So to take that off, it's those two bolts there on the connecting rod, and then that end comes off, and they just swing the connecting rod out of the way, and then the crank should just slide right out. Okay, so I got the crank out. I'm done for tonight. I don't even know what time it is. I don't want to goof this video up again to check the time. So that's what it looks like without the crank. I'm not taking the piston out. I'm not messing around with getting the rings in there. And there's the crank. It was in pretty good shape. Here's the sump again, and the inside of the engine, and the big mess I've created in the back of our pickup. And I think I'm going to end that video and end this video here. I'm done for tonight. I'll probably be back in a couple more days, I would say. Alright, so like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.